In today's fast-paced real estate landscape, success demands more than surface-level expertise. It requires insight, adaptability, proven strategies, discipline, and the ability to take risk. The Agent Brew podcast blends candid conversations with wisdom from industry leaders who've walked the path before you. Think of us as your strategic pit stop to fuel your real estate journey. From the crossroads of the world, in the heart of Times Square, welcome to Agent Brew Executive Sessions, a podcast that percolates real estate insights. I'm your host, Eric Zollinger of Realty Co. This is a casual conversation with those that are leading the real estate industry from the C-suite. Today, we are lucky to have and fortunate to have Brandon Charnas, the co-founder of Current Real Estate Advisors. Welcome, Brandon.
Hey, Eric, how you doing? How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us today. I always like to start off with how we met or how you came to our podcast. And I just want to give a huge thank you to August PR for introducing us. And they happen to be Realty Co's PR department too. So
No way. They're the best.
Yes. Small world. So let's get started with your agent journey. And if you can give us your elevator pitch, who you are today, company, and just we'll start there.
It might be just like a really tall building elevator, if that's okay.
Love it.
No, my name is Brandon Charnas. I'm the co-founder of Current Real Estate Advisors, one of New York's leading modern commercial real estate firms. We focus mainly on office leasing, especially in Soho and Midtown South markets. Which we know pretty cold since we've helped shape them. I come from a long line of New Yorkers. I think we were talking yesterday. I told you my great-grandfather, Benjamin Katz, started Katz's Deli on the Lower East Side. So
I sold 196 Orchard right next to it, so very familiar.
We send salami to the boys in the Army, which is great. And yeah, so the city has been in my DNA forever, and before real estate, I went to the University of Pennsylvania, started my career as a lawyer at Kirkland & Ellis, working, doing private M&A transactions and corporate doing really corporate law, and it wasn't really for me. So in 2014, I started Warwick Capital Management, which eventually became Current. And Warwick, we were focused on investment sales, selling over $1 billion worth of buildings really along the Broadway corridor right here, 670 Broadway, 799 Broadway, 888 Broadway, some of the buildings that we sold. And then, realized had a passion for real estate. One of those buildings in particular became Zero Bond, which is where our office is now. And, I realized I wanted to pivot and start a more scalable business. And that's where we formed, I brought in my roommate from college, Adam, who's brilliant, and he was at Angelo Gordon at the time. And we started Current Real Estate, and it's been incredible. We built a tenant rep focused commercial real estate firm. But we're very creative, and we represent, some of the most influential tech, venture capital, fintech, AI, Web3 companies in the market: MoonPay, Aptos, Dragonfly, Row, SoRare, Optimism, 9 Yards, and dozens, or A16Z, and dozens more. And we've executed some incredible transactions that we taught. I've told you about 75 Spring and 568 Broadway and 63 Crosby, and some incredible buildings downtown. So very proud of it, and it's been great.
Congratulations on all your successes. Now, when did you actually start Current Real Estate Advisors?
So Current, I think after I sold, I was at Current. My mother always said to me, she wanted me to stay in law, and stay at one of those big, at Kirkland & Ellis. And, it was after I sold ABC Carpet and Home, I came to her, I'm like, Mom, look how incredible this is. She was like, you should stay in the law firm. I'm like, I'll never make this kind of money at the law firm. I sold that building, and then I'll never forget my partner's wife, Rebecca, said we're at a wedding at one of our, other college roommates, and she was like, you should join Brandon and go leave, finance. And it was a crazy thing at the time. And he had no experience also in real estate, and neither did I. I just was, working as hard as I can, hustling and putting deals together. And he joined me, and that was in 2016. So we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary now.
Wow.
And we changed the name to Current Real Estate from Warwick because we really wanted to focus on leasing. And the coolest, I think, part about it was like, we said, how can I, you know, do yoga with a 70-year-old till all hours of the night, and then them decide that, they don't want to sell their building because, Mercury is in retrograde and it's not the right time. And your whole year is set on one person's decision at that very moment. And I said, I cannot live on that edge anymore. I'm having a family, I'm getting married, having kids. And I said, let's build something that's scalable, that, someone could just say, I really like this firm. I want them to represent me. And, it's only a matter of time until they find the right office to open up. Really, if you want to buy a building in New York on the investment sales side, it's very difficult and it's very competitive. And, like I said, it's not as certainty of a closing that will occur. And that's what we started Current. And it's been incredible ever since. And that was 10 years ago.
I didn't make the connection until just now when you said it was originally Warwick. I obviously know, I mean, I've been doing this over 25 years, and I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense now. Now I understand the lineage. And, commercial real estate itself also is very competitive. While I was doing my research, what I thought was really great, I love out front on your homepage, which is currentreadvisors.com. It reads, "We create value for our clients through a disruptive way of thinking." And that's really fantastic, because our whole conversation yesterday, when we were preparing for this, was all about how you're different and you're the differentiator in the marketplace, because you understand the ideas. You really are the trendsetter, because you're going in even before any of this has been done, and you already have a vision for your clients and how to get them to disrupt their marketplace.
Yeah, we're really, different. We are offering something more than just finding the best spaces. We're offering a lifestyle. We're offering whether it's anything from investments, finding investors, raising capital, finding the best place to throw an event for your firm, making sure that you are not just opening an office, but opening a lifestyle here and connecting with all of the right, whether it be finding other engineers to work at your firm. We like to say we're just more than real estate brokers. And I know a lot of people say that, but we actually do it. And, I could tell you stories of hosting events at Zero Bond and, clients of ours wanting to make a good impression on certain, even politicians, and the way, we could somehow orchestrate to have someone as important as Bill Clinton attend a event for one of our clients that was hoping to help one of the important politician in New York, and then having us being able to arrange to have Bill Clinton be there to shake that politician's hand when they didn't. They just thought they were having a small event for a small, for a private equity fund. It's moments like that that we're able to create that are always remembered, and that's why we just go above and beyond a regular real estate broker, because doing something like that.
You're a true tastemaker. Like you're with the visionary. And so what I love about real estate people in general across the board is that they're always in the know, right? I mean, let me rephrase that. Good real estate people, people that really have a passion about what they're doing, they know the ins and outs of just not the city, but the culture and the ebbs and flows. So for you to be, I think you said fourth generation here, just really adds so much. And I guess coming from another career, do you see that as a value? How much of that previous career fed into your current client pool?
Well, it's a great question. That coming from Kirkland and Ellis, it's very they're probably the if not top law firm in the country, top 5 for sure. It's very prestigious. It's very cutthroat. And I would say that the networking from that has been incredible. I mean, just connecting the dots on very important people within the private equity space that are using Kirkland for their fund docs, using Kirkland to negotiate their complex M&A transactions. The fact that we have that stamp of approval, me being at Kirkland and my partner being at Angelo Gordon, is extremely important. It creates a trust level that you don't get. I think that also helps with me having a law degree, and then also having gone to University of Pennsylvania. My co-founder Adam was in Wharton. Yeah, to answer your question, it's all part of that stamp of approval and that network. But I think what I learned most from being at Kirkland was this like high pressure, how to win, like how to, just, have to learn and it didn't always come easy to me and just have to figure it out on my own, and understanding like debt and equity and complex, finance structures, and then applying that knowledge to office leasing. So for example, if I'm looking at a building, I might be able to look at it a little bit differently based on what the client, or based on what the building's asking for from a price per square foot. It's like, I don't just say, oh, they're asking for $100 a foot. Great. I looked, oh, does the building have debt on it? Where is their debt, in relation to the equity stack, and how important is it for them to get those numbers? Did they just refinance? So I think thinking about the overall transaction, coming from a background of corporate finance and law, helps me. I can know who the owner of the building is and know how to diligence the corporate entities and organizational docs. And I think just thinking of it that way versus just someone telling you, oh, we need $80 a foot for this building. Oh, the broker said it's $80 a foot. Thinking about it differently is what I learned.
You understand the minutia, and
Yeah, we can go think about it from a different way, and that it helps us, just sound better to our clients and do a better job making sure that they're getting a good deal.
right. I mean, listen, there's a lot of obstacles in the way from residential or commercial, just trying to get to the finish line. And if you can offer, something that's going to make that process go a little bit easier, obviously you've been very successful at it. I'm curious to know, in your time in real estate, are there any particular mentors that have really helped you along the way?
There definitely are. There's one person in particular that taught me everything. I mean, I was talking about this yesterday. The most incredible thing I think about this city is that you could have zero experience, but have the ability or nose to figure out a way to get your hands on a deal. And if you have the deal and you understand that this could be a good deal or a good space, you go right to the top. So like, even though we've done, 50 of the last, in our small brokerage, 15 people in New York, 4 in Miami, we've done, an incredible amount of deals at this point. I mean, it's been 10 years, like I said, and we've done, at least within the Midtown South, Soho, NoHo, Union Square, Flatiron area, of the last like 50 deals. I know I sent you that chart yesterday. You could see, 35, current real estate has done, which is so impressive. Like, what's so great and bad about this city is that you can't just rest on your laurels, right?
Right, right.
So you figure, we've done every Web3 crypto deal within, the last year. You look at Alchemy and A16Z and Polymarket, Polychain and MoonPay and you name it, Native Markets and all these incredible amazing firms, Uniswap, and Variant and Hack VC. And you'd figure that, you should just be able to get all the deals because you're the expert, you've become the expert. But the funny thing is that somebody could have one space that they found that isn't on the market and send that one space to one potential client and do their deal. And that's what makes this city, I think, so amazing. And it's just the way I was able to have no experience in real estate, meet someone who owned, a building for 70 years, 817 Broadway or 670 Broadway that became zero bond, and convince them that they should sell, but not only sell to my buyer, in a most competitive market, and me having no experience.
But it's not that you didn't have no experience. You put the time in and you did the hustle, right? You were there, authentically, you were there like really wanting to do a good job and not afraid to do the research or have the understanding on how to get it done and across the finish line. So
Well, I think I was able to think about it differently. Like when I met the owner of 670 Broadway, he was this, 70, 80-year-old man, whatever it was. And with his wife, they ran this Leica gallery store, a photography store on the ground floor here. And, I went to him and I said, has anyone ever asked you to buy your building? And he said, take a look at this. And he held me, Eric, he gave me a stack of LOIs, and LOIs starting at 50 million over the years. And then the last LOI was 90 million. And he's like, here, you want to look through them? I was like, no, I'm okay. I believe you. And I'm like, but let me ask you a question. Has anyone ever asked you to lease the building? And he said, matter of fact, take a look at this. And he pulls out another stack and he goes, no one ever asked me about this stack. I said, I want that stack. So he hands me that stack. I said, can I photocopy these? I go photocopy all of them. I go home and I read through all of these LOIs to lease, because I knew in order to get this guy his crazy price of $100 million, right, that was the number. I knew that there's no way you can make sense of this unless there's somebody who's going to pay a lot of money in rent for it. So instead of dealing with trying to get people to pay his crazy number, why don't I go to the people who want to lease here, like the Equinoxes and Anthropology of the world, and the big office tenants and large private equity funds that were making offers because they saw this space and they were like, it's so beautiful.
they understand the value.
Forget about $50 a foot. We'll pay $100 a foot if you made it a little nicer. So I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I took them, called them up, and the one I got was Equinox. And I was like, hey, I see you put it in this offer. I said, will you double it if we, made it nicer? Like, they're like, who the hell are you? Who's going to put the money into it? I said, no, don't worry. We're going to figure that out. We'll figure. And I just thought about it differently. And then when we got the term sheet for the LOI from Equinox, and then eventually leased the rest of the building to Zero Bond and Face Gym, and Bandier at the time, we had offers that already made the building worth more than the stacks of LOIs that the owner was getting for purchase. So we ended up selling the building for $112 million. I actually have the contract on my wall. That was the first deal we did. And I think it's just to answer it, it's all about thinking about things differently. And yeah, you might, to back to what I said, is like, you might not have tons of experience in selling buildings, but just being able to work really hard and
The fresh point of view to like, really, you just looked at it like any financier would look at it. You're like, well, wait, if we're going to get here, I should go to this other side. And that's the roadmap. I mean, it just sounds so obvious, but you really did your due diligence, your homework. You weren't afraid to go put in some extra time and just walk around and talk to different people.
it was so cool. And you know what I learned the most from that, Eric, is that I learned that I've always been a storyteller. I love storytelling, and changing the name from this building from 670 Broadway and applying to the buildings department, to get Zero Bond and it getting approved. It got legally approved.
For that, I'm so
It's
shocked.
the first ever zero approved by the buildings department in all of Manhattan. And that is a story in of itself. And when we took
That's
the
so cool.
proprietor of the club here, it just all clicked. And they were like, this is, he's incredible. And he said, this has to be his members club. And now this club opening up a $70 million incredible club, Zero Bond, at the Wynn in Vegas as the number 2 club for Zero Bond, and having our office inside the club. There's nothing like this. And, the storytelling that I learned from that led us to current real estate. And that's why we've been, really successful at marketing and selling space to all of our clients.
Kudos to you. I mean, just job well done. I'm curious, what was the time frame for actually changing the address of the building? And did the address actually change, or did they just was it a new name for it that you could then? So, for instance, One Madison is actually 23 East 22nd Street that Related did. I happen to sell it as one of my buildings with them, but we branded it as One Madison, ONE, even though it just sits at the start of Madison Avenue. One Madison is actually over in the corner and isn't even in this building.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of in partnership with Equinox, and you know, it happened very quickly, and it was just an idea, and everyone wants to take credit for it, but I think the founder of Zero Bond will tell you, that it was just a great idea. And it's similar to the One Madison play, but it just changed the whole vibe of the building and
Right.
the members club. And this was a very
You created a market. You created its own image, and good for you, because real estate is all about
and then at
storytelling.
least everything around here, everything kind of centers around this. Like I said before, it's community, it's a lifestyle, it's people. If you want to hire the best employees, it's very tough to do that in other cities. I know, because I know people were trying to hire in Miami. New York is the center of it all, and nothing's going to change that. And us being at the center of the center and ground zero bond is what really is.
I mean, let's face it, that particular plot of real estate has been around for centuries in one of the greatest cities of the world. I think the best, but um, for you to come in and just totally rebrand it and have rewrite the whole narrative to create a whole new epicenter is really brilliant.
And to build a business from it, right?
Right.
We joke around, like when we get a client to come to our office, they feel like they are a part of our company, and that we're like almost in-house real estate for them. So, sometimes we can be a little bit pushy. Like even today, we met with a client we just did a space, an incredible office for, in from Paris, and we said, yeah, the CEO came and he had security detail with him, and they were not thinking about spending their day today or night at Zero Bond. They didn't even know what it was. He was talking to his chief of staff about restaurants and stuff. And I said, I think you would really enjoy Zero Bond. And then I pulled up this story about Taylor Swift and Gigi Hadid coming here last night. And then he got a little bit more interested. And he was like, and then next they reached out and they said, we have to come. And I said, all right, we're gonna set it up. But just it's making sure that they realize that we're it's a next. We're not just people who are sending a deck, with a bunch of spaces, right? Anybody could do that, and anyone could pull the spaces that are available on the market. You have to be able
Right.
to do something more than that. You have to offer something else. It's not easy, and it can't just be the one thing I think we've done a great job of is it's not just me, right? My whole team, whether they're, the most stylish or the least stylish, whatever it is, everybody understands the value that we are adding to the clients, and everyone can do a great job at pitching that. And I think that's why we're able to get, incredible clients and business.
Good for you. So, great successes in the past. What right now would you say is your biggest challenge you're facing as a company?
Um, Biggest challenge, I think, is making sure that I mean, I would say there was like, it used to be kind of developing a CRM, and now that's completely changed. We've hired this unbelievable person who is solely dedicated to client management and the portfolio and all of our companies. And it's really, I think the biggest challenge is making sure that we are in front of all of our clients, all the time, and making sure that it's everybody's doing a good job of whatever it is every week, making sure that we stay in front of them. Because a lot of times if you ignore, or if it's like anything, right? It's like if you don't pay attention to something,
Right.
if you don't water a plant, it doesn't grow.
Yeah.
And I think our biggest challenge has been, we have grown so quickly as a company. Knock on wood, it's our best year we've ever had this year. It's the market. It's incredible, specifically for the spaces that we focus on, right? The prime, really high end, incredible spaces in Soho, NoHo, Flatiron, Union Square, those areas, meatpacking, for tech, venture capital, private equity, AI, and Web3 crypto companies, right? That's been incredible for us. But as you get bigger, you sometimes lose focus on, your time, right? So I think managing the time and making sure that we're on top of everyone and making that process seamless is sort of what we're trying to build now. And I think we're doing a good job of it, but it's been tough. And keeping my partner happy. My partner is I'm the optimist. I'm the storyteller. Like, we have an amazing partnership. My partner, who, not to, I don't like to build him up, but he was the guy, Eric, who didn't have to study for a test. He would have his Birkenstocks, walk in to a test after being up all night, hanging out with everyone, while I'm slaving away in the, in my dorm room, studying to all hour, like nonstop review, would do flashcards and, being a complete nerd. And he would literally walk in his Birkenstocks and then get like 100 on the test. And it was like, I hated him for that. But I was like, you know what? If I ever start a company one day, that's going to be my partner. And he had zero experience in real estate. And let me tell you, Eric, he literally, I'm not just saying this, he's the best office leasing broker in Manhattan. I think objectively, a lot of people would agree for the amount of time, it's been 10 years or 9 years. He's amazing. So it's a great partnership. We're both very, very different, but it works.
Well, you mentioned something earlier, and I think that just is true for really any relationship, especially when you're running a company and it's all about trust. And that's, in real estate, that's kind of the cornerstone. It's not kind of, it is the cornerstone. We sell real estate on the side. It's all about relationships. And if you can't build that trust between two people, or at least if they don't have the trust that you can get the deal across the finish line, you're toast.
Yeah. And he's like a rock. I'm the idea guy and coming up with creative things to do. And he keeps me in check, and he's an executor. He's the ultimate executor, closer. I'm an opener. I open doors.
Two idea guys just don't get the job done, right? Because then it's just like you're sitting in a room with, all good intentions lead to hell, right? Like,
who's reading the fine print and closing the deal? He's the ultimate closer. It works really well, and our team is amazing. It's been tough. I mean, it's not easy as a boutique brokerage, as you know, too, to grow and to hire more people. And we just hired a head of business development. We hired, like I said, a portfolio manager. We have a great marketing team, and it's just growth it's really, you don't want to grow so quickly. It has to be really organic and has to be the right fit. And we've identified certain people that we want to bring on board. And I think that's kind of another, that's been a challenge for us too. To scale, like, it goes back to kind of what I originally said, which is why I got out of trying to sell buildings, right? Which is, there's only one you, right? That, you can only do laughing yoga till all hours of the night, and
100%.
with so many 65-year-olds, and to try to get buildings. So, and then you never know if, like I said, like Mercury's in retrograde, whatever that means. My wife knows about that stuff more than me, but that does, that's hard to scale. It's hard to scale. So that's been a definite, coming back to that with leasing, with leasing, it's definitely better than the investment sales, right? It's better, like, hey, Eric, I want to open up an office. I have the team. We've raised the capital. You're not going to not open an office. You might, now, if you have to do it really quickly, it might not be the best office, although
right,
we can
exactly
prove that, but you're opening an office, Eric, right? You're not going to, trust me, there are landlords who will have you. But if you say to me, I want to go and buy a building on Broadway, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So, your family has been very storied, all these generations, Cat's Deli, obviously. So, and then owning a commercial firm and one that is at the forefront like yours, it's a very public life. And so it takes a lot of personal capital to, your time is only so much. And so I'm curious to know, how are you able to balance? And I know there is no work-life balance. It's more like a teeter-totter, right? It never is going to stay directly equal. But how do you manage your work-life relationship? And has it been difficult?
Yeah, that's why we brought on someone for business development because, at some point, the engine, needs to shut off a little bit. You have to cool down. I am nonstop, and I get more angry when I leave this place and that I'm at. That our office is Zero Bond. When I see, the Future of Finance conference being held on our floor, and I kill myself. I'm like, what? How can I go home? It's 7 o'clock. Like, you can't go home. You have to stay. There's more people to meet. I'm just that's just it's in my nature. I don't want to give up anything. I want to do every deal, and I'd never want to stop. But yeah, you have to somehow find a work life balance. It's not easy, and it's been definitely a challenge for me. I've tried also, like, when you kind of don't drink alcohol, I've sort of
Hmm.
cut a lot down on drinking alcohol. It's
Have
also
you
tough
noticed a big
to,
difference?
yeah, well, like I don't need it. You notice that you don't need it, but it does make it easier when you have a drink or two with clients and stuff. But it's innate within me, the being outgoing and personable. And
Well, so I'm curious. Let's kind of focus on that, because being in real estate, everybody's going out for drinks, especially commercial, is so heavily. I feel like everybody says that you have to drink, and that makes it even harder when you don't. I've had several friends in the industry recently that have just given up, and some of them given up alcohol, I should say. Um, what's fascinating is that sometimes people. I like to be very observant, and there's sometimes people, they won't say that they're not drinking, and they'll just have it sit in front of them. Is it something? Have you made a conscious choice? Because I personally struggle with this all the time. I'm like, no, I really want to be very healthy for this next quarter, or whatnot. I have a big bike ride coming up, or I used to do triathlons. I'm like, I'm going to be very focused for that. So, do you see that as a hindrance, or is it? Um, are you able to just go cold turkey, or do you have to
I,
just
I'm
sneak it
getting
in here and
better at
there?
it, to be honest.
Okay,
Your mind is a lot clearer, and like
one
just
hundred percent.
yeah, it's a lot clearer, and seeing my personality come out without it is like really reassuring. So I know I can do it, but like sometimes you're like, oh, it'd be fun to have, does wine count, Eric?
I'd like personally, I don't think it does, because unless there's a two, but it's just it. Yes, it's always fun, but like the older you get, you're not quite to my half century yet, but you just start to realize, wow, I don't recover as well. Even if it's just two drinks, it's not a lot. I mean, that's nothing, but still, it's over time.
Yeah.
Everybody forgets that everything is cumulative, right? And um,
I mean, I've been playing a lot of tennis, like trying to find healthier things to do and stuff, and um, yeah, no, but a lot of is circled around drinking, and it's definitely tough for people in commercial real estate to not have a drink and also be able to network because it's not the easiest thing to do, you know? The Future of
right, yeah,
Finance conference, to walk up to people that you don't know and say, "Hey, by the way, my office is next door. You should check it out." It's just, you know, get away from me, creep, and then
right, right.
it's definitely not easy. But I think that if we're smart about it, and we now have this, hired an amazing head of business development who can help. Um, that's we're that's the way to grow. So we're trying. That's what we're doing. I think it's going really well, which is great.
So we've talked about several of your wins. Obviously, not necessarily saying they were wins, but clearly big successes. I'd like to flip that on the other side. Any transformational losses that you would say that, um, might not have ultimately been a loss, but, down
It's
time?
so no, of course. I mean, um, look, I think I hate losing anything. But there's been, some politics sometimes, that you just can't avoid. And really has not, you could do anything you can, and then just come to some kind of politic that you can't get around. Um, and then you always look in hindsight, like, oh, could I have done this differently or that differently? Like, what kills me is when we, work really hard for, it's had so many successes from doing some of this, but like, Uniswap, we did their first lease in Soho, and we weren't even like it was a small lease right during COVID, and we weren't like we were paid nothing on it, and then they've grown into like 25,000 feet, from their incredible office space. But like perfect example of like doing something for someone on the small side, of staying on top of them, and then eventually it paying off, and it's paid off tremendously. But then on the flip side, sometimes it either it's hard to crack, or you don't really, get it. We've had a client that we've done a ton of work for, and then all of a sudden, they had to bring in a larger brokerage because for whatever reason, there was some relationship that, they had to go with one of the larger corporate brokerage, which is tough for a boutique firm, but it's going to
Right.
happen. You have to accept that, and you have to, there was really nothing you can do because for whatever reason, decisions are made at a different level, and they needed to uh, a larger firm, one of the larger firms. Doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, that's pretty upsetting, and it's happened. And then also, like, I think with this business, sometimes you could do all the work for a client, find the right space and know that you're the best in the market and that you've shown them everything. And then again, for whatever reason, some, politics comes in, and then that client ends up leasing the exact space that you show them, and you're not gonna, it's tough to protect yourself in that situation. If you're not, a lot of our business, we're sort of signing exclusives. We think of it in a different kind of way. Sometimes it's not even just a document, it's just an acknowledgement that like, hey, we're working for you and we're your exclusive rep. And if you get anything, send it to us. And those are the clients we want to work with, that want to work with us and are gonna, play by those rules. But a lot of times it's like, it makes this business painful when it becomes like a space race. We call it, a lot of brokers call it, like where you're just chucking space and everyone's chucking them space. And, who wants to do that? Like, you've spent so much time on the relationship, you've identified the best spaces, and, just because you didn't send the space an hour before someone else, that somehow means that person, that other, that group can make, the commission from it. And that's upsetting, and I think that we've sort of shied away now from doing that, unless it's some major tenant, and could be a very large commission. But I think those are the pains of the lack of kind of loyalty and respect for what we do. So we have to find another way to gain that ability, not just through our work. That's the thing. If the work spoke for itself, they would say, okay, great, I only want to work with you. But unfortunately, it's not enough. You have
Well, and
to,
there's always
you
other
know,
factors involved, right? Like it's literally like dating because
you have to have
you're
them come to your
totally different
office and set up
sectors.
reservations and have, be at Zero Bond when Jalen Brunson's there and comes over and says hello and it's their favorite Nick. And then all of a sudden it's like they're not looking at it when anybody else has said because Jalen Brunson said hello to you. It's like so ridiculous, but it's important. It's important. It's little things like that. It's, getting someone a sandwich at Katz's Deli. It could be anything any value getting, oh, that's the pastrami guy. We're not going to not do a deal with the pastrami guy, you know? And the pastrami is a metaphor.
Right, of course, of course. With regards, everybody has ups and downs, and you've had some interesting things in the press. And so, how do you, being out boots on the ground and the head of a company, does that ever, are there any particular strategies that you use to just keep doing the work, or does it, does it take a lot?
You have to. You have to. I mean, you got to keep your head down and look, when you're a couple things. When you're successful, you're a target not just for people not in the industry, but you're a target from people in the industry, right? They want to, when they see someone having success, you want to do whatever it takes to bring that person down, and it's extremely, extremely competitive. So, you know, my partner is amazing, and we navigate any situation, and this kind of nonsense that came up is a lot has to do with the fact that my wife is a public figure, and is just all nonsense and bullshit, and you just have to really navigate through it, stay the course, and I think the fact that we've bounced back, or people who've tried to reach out to clients and say things that weren't true and stuff like that, like, it just shows how good we are and how strong the company is. And
When you built a massive following on Instagram, right? And so,
there's
one
some
of the
drawbacks
pioneers.
from that, though.
Yeah, I mean, but it's part of the battlefield, right? It's part of the
Yeah.
landscape. So you've been able to maneuver and navigate it, ultimately quite well. And but how much of your business today would you say is part of Instagram, or is it part of your marketing plan for the commercial side?
Great question. It was great because it started out that way. We're able to get a lot of clients because we're able to show that we can add value to their business by promoting them on Instagram. So that's how it started. So we got like Museum of Ice Cream and Bandier Fitness, and a lot of these consumer product, Charlotte Tilbury, consumer product based companies that sell consumer products, and we started doing their office space and their retail space, and that's how it started. And funny enough, we used Instagram, Manja, right? Amazing restaurant that
Yeah,
everyone loves, like or fast casual, everyone loves. Like, that started from just on Instagram, them, reaching out. They liked the post of ours where we tagged them, and it was like, oh, you're looking for a real, retail space. And the next thing you know, we're doing their leases, and we had a lot of success early on with the social media craze. I would say it's definitely not our way we get clients, but it's really interesting in the way we connect with clients. So when we do a post that has nothing to do with them, but anyone, it's just about a building, a pretty building, people remember, and we joke about this all the time. It's like, your mother, your wife, they don't know that you're in real estate. I know they do, but they aren't thinking about it on a daily basis. The same way your friends, Eric, are like, oh, Eric does residential. They know you do it. If they were quiz, what does Eric do? They would say, oh, he does residential. They don't know it. The truth is,
right.
and that's, we say it here at this office. If you're not out there promoting yourself, right, and promoting, yourself on social media, it's not that about the one thing you posted. It's about people remembering in that moment that you do real estate. So, for example, we posted some, posted the thing we sent you, that I sent you about the deals we did in Soho recently, and like how many there were. So, it was put on our Instagram, and a friend who I had dinner with all the time decided that, that day was a good day to connect me to someone in LA that is looking to open an office in New York. So it's inherent in everything we do.
Yeah,
The
right.
following is incredible. If you think about hundreds of thousands of people, we could fill up 2 Madison Square Gardens with people who are living in New York and are entrepreneurs that work for companies that are following me on Instagram, and that it works well in other ways. We toured a building for a client, a very important client, and walked through the space. And as I was walking with my team, someone who was working there, who ended up being the comptroller of the company, said, "Hey, I'm a big fan of your wife on Instagram," and came over and shook my hand. Let me tell you something. When it came time to decide who was going to win the deal in the sublease, we're in the. It's up to us now whether we want to take it.
That's awesome. That's
So
great.
that's great. That's great. But obviously, there's a lot of hate and a lot of craziness on social media, as we've seen publicly, and with everything that's going on with politics, right? It can get very ugly, and unfortunately, as a result of that, you're the target of things that you never could have dreamed of, and you're not prepared for. You have to have, besides a strong marriage to your wife, strong relationship with your partner, strong relationship with your employees. If there's any chinks in the armor, you're not ready for this, right?
Right.
So
You're going to be exposed at some
you're
point.
exposed.
So
You're not ready for it. You're exposed. So I think what we've done and what I've learned from all the nonsense that came out, that all the ridiculous public bullshit that amounted to nothing, and that they've since apologized for.
Noise, right?
It's
That's going
noise,
on.
but you have to be, you have to have very good accountants and good lawyers and really do the work ahead of time, to build a strong foundation, knowing that you're a public person. And trust me, it is, it is privacy. Me and my wife say this all the time. Privacy is the number one and greatest luxury. We don't have it, but both of us, if tomorrow we could make sure our children were, went to, were taken care of and had the best life, and we could give our kids that life without social media, we would turn it off tomorrow, right? But it's so important to everything, obviously, that she does, and being, one of the first influencers, and obviously you've seen how incredible it's been helpful for real estate, and we've talked about it. But there's huge, there's a lot of negatives that come with it. And yeah, it's all about just, I would say that if my relationship with my partner was not good, or my wife, I would be divorced and I would have no partner and we wouldn't have a business if based on everything that we went through.
we talked about trust. So that's that key component.
Yeah.
And
our
doing the
clients
work.
would have left us.
Yeah. So you said the word politics a couple of times. I just, given that the election is now over and we're moving on to a new administration that got over 50% of the vote, there's been a lot of talk with commercial real estate. I'm just curious to know, New York's been around for hundreds of years. It's still going to go on, and it's an amazing city. Where I'm going with this is that from the election till now, which we're all at the end of November, are you seeing a pullback in the city, or just is there a recalibration, would you say, or has there been a notable decline in people wanting to move forward?
No, not at all. Haven't seen it at all. I would say the only thing we've seen is kind of the clients that are one in particular that are like kind of like more, reading page 6 type clients. They would say, I think we're gonna maybe not go as big in New York, and that's probably because those clients were like they're doing Miami with us and Fort Lauderdale, like they were focused on South Florida anyway, and they just kind of wanted to jump on that bandwagon. So it's more like talk than anything else, which is the press and talk can lead to talk. I haven't actually, but then again, we just did a lease for an illegal AI company. It took 10 days and they, took 2 floors and 25,000 feet and wanted to move as quick as possible. Right. And it was literally 10 days following the election, of the new mayor, or him winning the election. So they they have to move as quick as possible. And we're seeing companies, like I mentioned, from Paris and, out of state, and, knowing that they have to hire here because they can't find the talent pool.
That's what hasn't changed. It's still
Nothing's
here.
changed.
New York is still
the engineers
the
are
that
here.
It is, at least in the short term, and
the employees are here. Nothing. I haven't seen anything change. But I will say that regardless, I welcome the challenge. It is, where we have to, right? Let's go.
It's fascinating because I've done residential for so long. I really don't transact any longer, but one of my claims to fame has been the Caledonia with the related companies. I drank my own Kool-Aid. I knew everything about the building and the neighborhood, all that. But what I found was fascinating, at the time, 2012, I owned my own firm, Zollinger and Associates. I went from having my best year ever to them announcing they were going to build on top of Chelsea Market, which could be directly affecting every southern view in that entire building. I went from having my best year ever to literally all my deals in that building. And that was my bread and butter, to doing maybe one or two deals that were in other neighborhoods. So it literally, from a 9-month perspective, before the city council actually gave their approval, which happened the Monday of Superstorm Sandy. So you're talking about the entire year, almost of 2012, me freaking out, having my best year, to then having no business. But the moment that they approved building on Chelsea Market, now mind you, even though we knew how far over the building was going to go and all the setbacks, it was that what if. We don't know until they actually sign on the dotted line. It was still the same thing that I was still showing everybody. And we're talking 13 years later, and nothing has been built on top of Chelsea Market.
It's crazy.
But it was fascinating that it was just, we need to know before we make the decision. So I did so much business in the 6 months after that decision that I had my best 6 months of my entire career. And it was all just because nothing technically had changed. It just, they knew if it was going to move forward or not.
But you know, it's so funny. We all went through COVID too. Who was leasing space during COVID? Right? I mean, who returning to the office during COVID, right? I mean, if we could deal with that, like we started focusing on who we thought was going to start leasing space, like, Web3 and crypto companies at that time. And it was like, this is good. Whoever it is, right? We'll just pivot, So I think that, to your point, even no matter what, like, you'll find a way. We're resourceful and we'll find a way.
Well, I'm glad to hear straight from a commercial person who's doing deals on the ground to shape the future of each neighborhood that you lease in, that New York is still here. And despite all the naysayers, it was just noise. And
Exactly. And look, I mean, when my great grandfather came here and he didn't speak any English, and they, I don't know if you've been to Katz's Deli, if you see the
of course,
the sign,
yeah.
it says Katz's, that's all. He was here and he was telling them to hang the sign, and he said, put Katz's, that's all, that's all. And the guy wrote Katz's, that's all. He meant,
I never knew that story. I can't believe it. Oh my God.
Katz's, but the guy wrote, okay, Katz's, that's all. I don't know, that's all.
Oh my gosh. So, we brought it back to the beginning about your great grandfather. So if you could give your young agent self, this is my favorite part of the podcast. If you could give your young entrepreneur, banker, attorney self, if you could give that young person a piece of advice, what would it be?
I would say, don't chase volume, chase depth. Deep relationships compound, and focus on being indispensable to the clients who truly value what you bring.
I really like that. Focus on value, not don't focus on volume, focus on depth. That had so many great ways to go, but it's so true.
It's been so true in what we do. I mean, we call it here squeezing the lemon. And if you do a deal here with a client, right, and that client doesn't introduce you to anybody else, and no one at the company does and you don't do any other deal, right? We will look at our CRM and we'll look at it as a failure.
Right.
And that's the whole point. That's the deep relationships compound. So if you just are finding them space and you're not on text message with them, and you're not, wishing them a happy birthday, or as stupid as that may sound, and you're not following up with them and staying on their radar and making sure that they see the cool posts that you just posted on Instagram, and, making sure that they're invited to the holiday party, and personally writing them, and sending them some interesting idea that, it could be as cool as that you, like I said, had Jalen Brunson say happy birthday to you, or as amazing as, you're hosting an incredible event at Zero Bond that you want to invite them to, or someone speaking. It could be anything. But if you're not chasing depth within that relationship and finding a way to squeeze that lemon, then it's a failure. And that's what we look at every one of our deals. If you just do the deal, great. It's not about the money. It's not about that one deal. And my team will say I'm the first to say, well, all right, we don't need the commission on this one. It's all about the long term, because that's what leads to much more success. So if I could tell myself that, I think I think when I was selling the buildings, I think I was so focused at that point on, when I got married in 2014, I told my wife I quit Kirkland and Ellis, and she's like, well, what are you going to do? I was like, I don't know. I'm going to figure it. She's like, so you don't have a job? I'm like, no, not right now. But, she's like, you left the law firm and you don't have a job. I'm like, but I'm going to sell this. I got a deal going, and I think a lot of shortcuts, look, I was very successful, but I definitely think, even with my mentor at that time, we didn't speak for a little bit, and now of course we're back together. But I think I definitely I was chasing volume and not chasing depth at that time. And I think, although it ended up working out great, definitely some advice I would want to give my younger self is, just like be a little more patient. I was so, when my mentor was, we were putting together charts of all doing block and lots of all the buildings, and we were doing it for a client. And as we're sending out offers on all the buildings, you're supposed to wait to see if, that one client was interested in that building to move forward. I couldn't wait. I was like, I'm doing too much work. I'm getting married. I don't have a job. I gotta go. And, it ended up working out, which is great, but I definitely, I'm more thoughtful now about building the deep relationship than just, selling a building, and making a commission. But, that was definitely my only focus at the time when I didn't have a job back in 2014.
Well, Brandon, thank you for sharing your agent journey and also so many actionable insights. It's been a really great conversation. So thank you for coming. We hope you'll come back in the future so we can hear about the future successes of Current. Any particular positive motivational quotes or things that have inspired you over time?
Oh, a quote. Luck is preparation meeting opportunity. So always be prepared.
Love that. It's no secret that Zig Ziglar is one of my heroes. I grew up reading Zig, and my father was a huge fan. So I've used his quotes throughout our 2 seasons. For you, I thought this might be fitting. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And after our conversation yesterday, I love the whole storytelling part, but also, we're in the lifestyle business, but you are the tastemaker because you're creating those new stories. You're creating the new buildings. And
to quote George Costanza, Eric, it's not a lie if you believe it.
Oh my gosh. And with that, Brandon Charnas, thank you so much for joining us today.
But I will say this, the one thing, one thing regarding the quote that we just discussed before, that the luck is preparation meeting opportunity. It's so relevant to what we do here, because we always say at this firm that, and I say it all the time, never got lucky in this business ever. I've never got lucky. All those deals, the clients, and I always say I've never got lucky, because I always say if one thing was pointed a different direction and I didn't check every little, it wouldn't have happened. Or a lot of times when you're younger and you're naive in this business, Eric, it's like, I'm going to introduce you to a multi-billionaire and you're going to, connect him on a property and, you'll get paid. It's never happened.
Oh, I know. Right. Exactly.
But yeah, this is great.
Oh, no, work Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. It's fine. People are in town all the time. And you know what? I was on 1 Madison. Sure enough, Christmas Eve, someone called and I sold the only 1 bedroom at 1 Madison on that day.
You had to be there.
I had to be there, and I was, So I always say it's not false. It's not a lie. It really does happen. And yes, maybe on the 18th holiday that I worked or holiday weekend, yes, it can happen. So
Awesome.
thank you for joining us. Brandon Charnas, co-founder of Current Real Estate Advisors. I'm Eric Zollinger from Realty Co., inviting you to come back for future episodes, but reminding you it is a great day for real estate. We'll see you next time. The Agent Brew podcast is brought to you by Realty Co. Realty Co. is your partner in real estate, bringing you game-changing benefits and services to empower your business. Visit realtyco.com for more information.